Starting a recessive project can be tricky. There are lots of different ways that you can go about it, and there's lots of different pros and cons to each approach. So we're going to be focusing on recessive projects right after we do a little bit of a check-in. All right, so first we want to say we're super sorry. We have missed the last 2 weeks. I think this is coming up on the 3rd week of videos. We have been insanely busy. 2 weeks ago, we went up to Illinois. We're down in South Carolina for a wedding. So we were traveling for that. We didn't really have a chance to record. And when we got back, we had lots of stuff going on with work. It was pretty insane for like a whole reporting process at the beginning of the month. And now that things are starting to slow down just a little bit, we're gonna record this video, get this up and out there. But next week we also have it really busy too because it's our wedding and we're super excited. And we actually got married through like COVID and all that stuff, but this is our ceremony. So super excited. We're having it at a distillery and there's an open bar. So anyways, back to this week's video. First, we have had a couple clutches laid since we last talked. So we had one that was a banana possible blade. We don't 100% know, but the eggs are incubating. We're gonna find out soon. Het clown female to our clown male. Super excited about that one. In addition, we had a clutch laid yesterday, and that was this girl. She is a firefly calico female. She already took a small rat last night too, right after she laid and everything. She's doing awesome. To our butter Mojave male, Louie. He's in here, so he's looking awesome. So the reason why we did this pairing isn't so much that we have like specific holdbacks that we want from this, though we are really excited about various calico combos. It is because we plan on pairing Misha to our sunset male, Aries, this upcoming season, and we wanted to make sure that if on the off chance that she retained any sperm, that we would be able to tell which parent it came from. So because our blue-eyed Lucy, butter Mojave, male, that combo, butter and Mojave, are allelic, all of the offspring that he produces will have either butter or Mojave in it. So next year, when we pair Misha, our firefly calico female, to Aries, our sunset male, if any of the offspring have butter or Mojave in them, we will know immediately that that offspring is not going to be 100% het for sunset. So that's why we went with that one. And honestly, that whole stuff, that 100% het, things like that, is a really good transition into this week's topic, and that is all on recessive projects. For this whole video, this demonstration, stuff like that, all the topics, we're actually going to be using our clown animals to illustrate the different purposes, but all of this can use for any recessive because the concepts are the same. It doesn't necessarily matter about the specific gene. So if you have pied, if you have sunset, if you have anything, it doesn't necessarily matter. We're just going to use clown to show it. So the probably most common way to start a recessive project is to get 2 heterozygous animals. So I'm going to pull out one right now. This was actually the very first clown animal that we had purchased. He is an inchy, 100% het for clown male. His name's Atticus. He was pretty feisty when we first got him, but he's calmed down a lot. He's doing really well. So he is just a single gene inchy and also carries 1 copy of the clown gene. So because he only carries 1 copy and it is a recessive morph, you can't see any visual indicators. There are a couple like kind of markers that I've heard about, but I haven't heard anything to indicate that it's heterozygous for clown. But I've never seen or heard of something that's like foolproof. Like definitely if it has this, it is heterozygous for clown. So we picked him up for, I think it was $100, which is about the price for a inchy het clown male. So if you get him, $100, we're gonna go over and we are going to pick a different het animal. Females in general tend to be more expensive. So if budget is a consideration for you, like a limited budget is a consideration, then you might want to go with the het-to-het pairings because you can get a het animal cheaper than you can a visual. So this is one of our bigger girls. She, and by big, I mean she's just breeding size now. She's about 1,500 grams at the moment. So she is a pastel Mojave 100% het for clown, and she's going to be getting paired this year. Now, we could pair her, pastel Mojave 100% het for clown, to Atticus, who is an inchy het clown male. And by both of them being het clown, there is a 25% chance, a 1 in 4 odds per egg, that that animal from their offspring would be a visual clown. So, not necessarily bad odds, and I don't think that it's bad to go het to het. The big negatives, or the big cons for het to het pairings, are that your odds of getting what you want are greatly reduced. So, one, you're only looking at 1 in 4 animals having the visual recessive trait that you want. In addition, all of the other genes, inchy, pastel, Mojave, the chances that those genes are combined into the one visual animal are way lower than if you had 2 visuals or if you had a het and a visual. Again, just there's more factors being in play. And we'll get into this more in a second. The best reason to go het to het, in my opinion, are 2. And that is, 1, you have a limited budget. We already kind of talked about that. The second is that you are working with a high-end project and you are looking at a way to kind of skip steps. And you are willing to take a risk that you won't hit what you want, but because the animals are so valuable anyway, creating a 66% possible het animal is still worth a considerable amount of money. So if you were to go Atticus, who is an inchy het clown, to Mocha, who is a pastel Mojave het clown female, all of their offspring would either be a visual clown or have a 66% chance of being het clown. But we wouldn't know which one of those animals that are not visuals actually are het clown and are not. And because of this risk of not being able to say for sure that these animals are het, it reduces their monetary value when you're trying to sell them later on. In addition, when you're looking at clowns, generally clowns they're a great, really, really popular morph, but they're not worth so much money that the 66% hets adds a whole lot of value to them. So especially if you're looking at males, really, if you have a 66% het clown male, they're just worth whatever the animal would be without the 66% chance of being het clown. Females, you might be able to get a little bit more because generally if you're trying to prove something out, you want to prove out a female rather than trying to risk proving out one male to multiple different females when the male might not prove out. But a different situation where it might be beneficial to go het to het would be if you were working on Sunset. So we have a visual Sunset, so he is a little bit different because all of his offspring would end up being 100% het for Sunset. But let's say he was a 100% het Sunset male. We have a 100% het Sunset female. If we paired them together, all of the babies would either be visual or 66% chance to be het for Sunset. And Sunset is a new enough gene and it's valuable enough right now because the price hasn't dropped as much that a 66% het Sunset female, just regular het Sunset female, that goes for about $500, which is a considerable amount of money when you are saying without that gene, it would just be a normal female. And a normal female is maybe $50. So for the really, really new, really expensive morphs, there is still a risk when you go het to het, but there might be a reason why you want to. Because let's say that we had a het Sunset, or GHI het Sunset male, and a Mojave het Sunset female, and we paired them together, and we get some Sunsets, which are awesome, beautiful snakes. We get some 66% hets, which the value is still there to kind of make it monetarily worthwhile. But you might hit the odds and hit a GHI Mojave Sunset, which would be a world's first as of the recording of this video, and could be insane. You could literally just catapult your breeding business or whatnot because you're able to jump ahead by taking that risk. But by taking that risk, you run into the chance of maybe you don't get any Sunsets. So we're gonna go on to that anyway. We're gonna jump back to clowns. So that was het to het. Let's go visual to het next. So this is actually my favorite way to go about doing it. So this is our clown boy, visual clown male, Chai. Super, super excited. He has a clutch in the incubator right now. And he was paired to our banana possible blade. The reason why she's possible blade is that the breeder that sold her to us said that they bought her as a banana het clown female, but they felt that her pattern was really reduced and that her pairing was a blade clown male to a banana het clown female, so there's a chance that she is a blade clown. And once her hatchlings pip out, we'll be able to know for sure if she is blade clown or not. But so, all of that aside, she is a banana blade clown, possible blade het clown. So, with a visual to a het, you have a 50% chance, 1 in every 2 eggs will be a visual. But the better thing, in my opinion, besides just the increased odds of visual, is every other baby that are produced that are not visual are guaranteed to carry 1 copy of whatever the recessive gene is. So in that case, for this clutch, we have 7 eggs. Let's say on the odds, we're looking at about 3 to 4 of them being visual clowns, and the rest of them are going to be 100% heterozygous for clown, which means that even if it's a normal, because you can guarantee that it has one of these other genes in it, it raises its value. If you had a banana versus a banana het clown, it's completely different price range, completely different animal, and it also changes the way that you look at projects for that animal. So when we are looking at really our recessive projects, a lot of the times we are trying to do 1 visual animal, or of whatever recessive it is, to 1 heterozygous animal, because it gives us that security of knowing exactly what genes the babies are going to be carrying. But if you have maybe a lot of money, or you've invested early on and you've raised them up for a long time, you can go visual to visual. And visual to visual is going to guarantee that every single one of those babies will also be a visual. And if we were going to go visual to visual, let me see what we have. We'll do Chai, which we already talked about, to our Inchy blade clown female. And she's not anywhere close to being ready. She's probably around 400, 500 grams right now. So she's got, not this upcoming season, but the season after that probably. So let's say we paired these 2 together, Chai and her. We would have every single one of her babies would be clowns if she was paired to Chai. But half of her babies would carry Inchy, half of them would carry Blade, and because every single one is clown, that means half of the babies will be, roughly half, it doesn't quite work out to this, half of the babies will be Inchy clowns, half of the babies will be Blade clowns, and 25% of all of the babies will be Inchy Blade clowns. So when you go visual to visual, your chances of hitting your codoms get a lot better too. So even though you are not necessarily increasing the number of Inchy genes in the pairing, the fact that you don't have to worry about which ones are going to be visual or not means that your overall odds are just going to be better. Now, this is the standard 3 ways I would say that people usually talk about, and that is a het to het, visual to het, and visual to visual. But you also have possible hets, which we talked about beforehand. So this girl, let me pull her out, Sable, she is a black pastel spot nose, 66% possible het clown. She is just gorgeous. I love her pattern, love her contrast. She is one of our prettiest snakes. Really, really excited about her. Now, if you are going to have a black pastel spot nose 100% het clown female, you're looking at a pretty expensive snake. But the fact that she was a 66% het, I'm pretty sure we got her for $300, which is way cheaper than what you would get normally. But there's a risk there because we don't necessarily know that she carries the clown gene. If we paired her in, let's say next year when she's ready, and we don't get any clowns, then she was just black pastel spot nose. And we might have paid a little bit more for a black pastel spot nose for the chance for her to be het clown. But because 66% het, we have a little bit better odds than 50-50 to actually hit the clown, and then we would jump ahead that project. So there are reasons to go for pos hets. In our opinion, they are generally reserved for females. There's not a big reason why we would want to get a possible het male and try to work a project from that angle, because if they didn't prove out, it would be way harder and way more debilitating overall for the project. Because if you have a female, for example, Sable, who is 66% het clown, that's not het clown, at least she produced a clutch for you. And that clutch that she produced, if you paired with the visual, are going to be the 100% heterozygous animals that you wanted originally. So if you have a male that's a possible het clown, and you pair it to a het clown or another visual, or a visual clown, you are really, really gambling, because there's a bigger gamble there. Let me look and see. The only other thing that I want to talk about for a recessive project is working other genes in. So all of this so far is assuming that you are able to get an animal that is either visual or heterozygous with the recessive gene that you want, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes the animals that have these recessive genes are so expensive that it is prohibitive to go out and buy multiple ones with the gene. In this case, and this is probably one of the only cases where I'd say that this happens, the males, specifically the male visuals, are worth more than the females. So if you had Aries for Sunset, we can pair Aries to any female that we have in here. Every single baby that they would produce would be 100% heterozygous for Sunset. We could then hold back those females, we could hold back males, it doesn't necessarily matter. From one snake, we could establish, relatively within a year, a huge base in whatever recessive project that we wanted. If we only had a visual sunset female, and we paired that female to, let's say, 4 different snakes, whenever she has a clutch, realistically, that one clutch is going to be the only heterozygous, 100% heterozygous animals that we would have to expand our project. So when it comes to starting a recessive project, if you're looking at like higher end stuff where they're really, really expensive or really, really hard to come by, I would recommend getting a visual male first. But again, there's drawbacks, because later on you're going to produce way more powerful, genetically dynamic animals. And that single gene animal that you had, we love Aries, and we're not going to get rid of him ever because he's just awesome. But that single gene male that you have might be just used as a backup male, because you're going to have a stronger male that you can use later on. Where when it comes to females, if you have a visual recessive female and you grow her up, it doesn't matter at what point in the project you are, she will always be useful, because she can get paired to any het male that you produce that might be ready within a year of it being hatched, and be able to create the visual offspring just right away. And if they're not visual, get the 100% hets. So I know that this was a little rambly. I didn't have any notes for this. I apologize. I knocked over a little cup while I kicked my little table up here. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment, and we will see you next week.